starts with a recording. It's completely dark except for the little light that the flashlight of a phone produces. As the camera moves around the room, you see rubble everywhere and hear voices complaining about the heat. And then a face comes into view. He's sweating and it looks a little desperate as he speaks. We're the sophomores and juniors at Sejong University Film Department, and we're waiting to be rescued. It seems like there was an incident during our studio tour. 9 of us are trapped down here right now. We talked to 911 just now and are all staying together as advised. Thankfully, no one is injured. Hey, stop that and just start filming. Okay. We're recording a short introduction of ourselves and our blood type just in case. I'm Han Sung-bin and my blood type is B. The camera shifts and a girl comes into view. I'm Chung Hana. My blood type is O. The camera shifts again. I'm Lee Chung Nok. My blood type is a little rare. And Mom, Dad, I love you. Okay, pause. Maybe this is why I shouldn't be writing things on the train, so I mixed this part up. Chongnok is not the one who cries for his mom and dad. He just says that his blood type is a little rare. He's an RHA. And it's Kim Yoon who actually cries for her parents. I just completely forgot her introduction in the script that I had written for this, so instead, I hope you guys enjoy the actual part of the manhwa with her drawing in it. I'm so sorry for messing that up. I'll try to be more careful in the future. As soon as she says that, the chaos breaks out. This isn't what they agreed on. They need to be quick in case the battery runs out. Someone breaks up the fight and a boy comes into view. This is Song Jun-taek, and Jun-taek pauses and drops his head. And your blood type? Jun-taek lifts his head and scratches his hair. I know, it's type O. The camera shifts again. This is Shin Yu-chong, and my blood type is... But he gets interrupted by Song-bin, who realizes that the camera isn't in focus. Great, hope we don't need this for any blood transfusions. Another small fight explodes, the camera comes back into focus, and someone once again breaks up the fight before the camera moves on from Yujung. Oh, Taeyeon here, blood type is B, I'm interning at the studio. The camera moves on. I'm Baek Hae-sung, my blood type is AB. Please save us as soon as possible. And then the next person comes into view. I'm Ko Juno, blood type B. Now let's turn it off, guys. Song-bin turns off the recording. All 9 of them are sitting in a circle with a phone's flashlight in the middle. Each person has something different to add to the conversation. Some regret coming to tour the studio, some are grateful that they're alive and not buried underneath the rubble, and someone just wants them to stop talking because that'll make them all thirsty. The conversation ends with someone suggesting that they turn off the flashlight to preserve the phone's battery, and soon the whole area grows dark. 16 days later, on the 6 a.m. morning news, a reporter is reporting on suspicious signs on the corpses from the Contra Studio incident. The news is playing on a TV in an apartment where the apartment tenant is listening to it while she's making morning coffee. The news reporter continues. The police stated that they will be investigating the case and the survivors. Although the survivors of the Contra Studio incident were rescued on the 6th after 14 days in isolation, 3 corpses were found damaged and one of the survivors was found unconscious, raising multiple suspicions on the case. Police have obtained permission from the family of the deceased to request an autopsy of the 3 corpses. Additionally, in order to minimize the possible psychological distress of the survivors during the investigation, prosecutors have stated that a professional advisory committee member would join the investigation. And on the TV screen, you see these headlines flashing. Contra incident, signs of murder revealed on site, multiple survivors suffering from trauma. Police request an autopsy from the National Institute of Scientific Investigation. The tenant grabs the keys to the apartment, says bye to her boyfriend, and is putting on her shoes as the news reporter on the TV continues behind her. Prosecutors have revealed that they are appointing a neuropsychiatrist as an advisory member, and people are speculating that the appointed member is Dr. Chu Younghwa. Younghwa smiles as she exits her apartment. Meanwhile, at the police station, everyone is gossiping about how Team 2 will most likely take on the Contra case. It seems pretty obvious to all the other officers that Kwon Jong-do will take over and Team 2 will steal the spotlight yet again this quarter. Meanwhile, in the room assigned to Team 2, one of the team members is crying. At this rate, she'll never get to go home. Junggo, however, is all about work. He wants to go through the crime scene photos, but his teammates convince him to get some tea in the break room. Taegun, one of the cops on Team 2, is scrolling through social media while waiting for his tea, and the comments are kind of all over the place. There are a couple threads talking about how the 6 of them didn't have enough food to eat or how they had to eat their own poop to survive. Another thread that says, and I quote, "Men and women in their 20s isolated together don't even have to question what must have happened. I wish I was there." Some people, I swear. Thankfully, there's a few folks calling this person disgusting and another person pointing out that there were 3 corpses in there, which, I don't know, I guess if you're like into necrophilia, that might not be as big of a turnoff as some people think it is. But the most interesting thread is about Younghwa. The commenter doesn't understand why everybody's making such a big deal about psychiatrist Chu Younghwa. The replies to the comments talk about the Songli case. That case shook the entire country, and it's how Younghwa got famous. Daegun puts his phone down and starts asking about Younghwa. That Dr. Ju, apparently she's 43. Is that true? I saw a picture of her and I honestly thought that she was my age. Well, what were you gonna do if she was your age? No, I mean that she's pretty gorgeous, so I was just surprised. She's in her early 40s because she was in college during that incident. Dr. Ju, I still remember seeing her on the TV as a kid. There were no privacy laws back then, so all the faces and names and pictures of the survivors were broadcasted to the public, which not only made her a well-known face during the investigation of that incident, but also after that. Daegun starts sweating while he tries to explain himself. Lieutenant, I think I misspoke, but Chongdo is serious. If it becomes clear that there was a murder, then this is a locked room murder case, so hold yourself back even if the doctor is gorgeous. Lieutenant, I mean, Dr. Ju isn't just a doctor. She's a survivor from the incident, so watch what you say in front of her. Don't make any mistakes that could get us in trouble with the prosecutors. Daegun apologizes, but he's cut off from saying anything more than I'm sorry by a voice behind them. What mistake? Saying that I look your age, or being pretty gorgeous? Or perhaps it's the fact that you're a little bothered that I'm a committee member appointed by the prosecutors. I don't really care, to be honest, but I'd be happy if my coworkers were comfortable working with me. Oh, also, I'm 43. Does that answer your question? She then walks up to Chongdo, who is frozen, and extends her hand. Lieutenant Kwon Chongdo, I'm Chu Younghwa, Director of Neuropsychiatry at the National Chongwoo Health Research Center. I was wondering what you thought about the order of the survivor statements. And with that interruption, the team gets to work. They stick up all the photos they've gotten from the crime scene, and because I can, I'm going to describe some of them to you. Quite a few of them are blood splatters on the rubble in the area where the 9 of them were located. There are 2 photos of articles of clothing. One of them is like a really colorful, I want to say scarf, and then the other photo is one of a bloody pink shirt. In addition to that, there's another picture of a moldy bread and a photo of a woman's shoe that also has some blood on it. Younghwa is studying the photos while Chongdo is studying her, thinking back to the comment she made earlier, calling him out on the fact that he's bothered by the fact that she was appointed by the prosecutors. After a few moments, Chongdo answers Younghwa's questions about the order of the survivor statements. The order of the statements doesn't really matter. The survivors cannot communicate with each other in order to get their story straight, and there wouldn't be any difference even if they agreed on a story before the rescue. So I'm planning on getting statements from whoever recovers first. Younghwa turns to him. Then it must be easy to get the first statement from the survivor who's suffering the most, right? Among the survivors who can talk now, we need the one who's struggling the most in this situation, mentally taking it the hardest and the most sensitive. It'd be even better if that survivor is severely injured. And as she's saying this, she has like this small smile on her face, and the look in her eyes for some reason is very unsettling. Before Younghwa can continue, she gets interrupted by the female detective on the team. Sorry to cut you off, but was that a professional comment as a neuropsychiatrist? No, not really, but it is in fact the easiest to get the most honest response from the severely injured and unstable survivor. We're getting statements from everyone anyways, right? We all know that they probably had some internal conflicts and ended up killing one another. You better get the alibis as soon as possible. Remember that investigation team that missed the opportunity and messed everything up? Getting all 9 of their alibis will be the foundation of the investigations, Lieutenant. Get the statement from the one who's suffering the most. Meanwhile, in the hospital, on the other side of a door that says isolation, keep quiet, patient Shin Yoo-jung. Yoo-jung is underneath his hospital bed, shaking in fear. Every little noise coming from the hallway causes him to whimper. His eyes dart around, and then they dart to a pair of bare legs that appear next to his bed before an upside-down face comes into view, and Yoo-jung screams, Don't kill me! I won't tell anyone!" The next chapter starts by sending us back to July 24th. Chongnok is filming himself just outside the Contra studio. It's 1 a.m. in the morning, and he is convinced that the Songcheon University's film club's fate depends on this studio tour, and because of that, he will be recording the entire tour of the Contra studio. The Contra studio is a brand new building that's still leasing out most of its units, and the second floor basement of this building is home to the editorial room. Chongnok hurries down the dark basement because he's already late, but his mouth doesn't stop moving. It's really dark right now because it's 1 a.m. Apparently they're pulling an all-nighter for the edits. There's no security either. Maybe they're asleep. Anyway, I'm going to hurry because I'm a bit late. Oh, look at that. I found Taeyeon. Taeyeon is banging her fingers against her phone, clearly frustrated because her phone isn't working again. And when she hears Chongnok behind her, she starts filming his face while yelling at him for being late. The two have a cute argument, and it seems like the two of them are pretty close. Eventually, Taeyeon stops filming Chongnok and starts laying down some ground rules. Just leave your phone and your backpack over there and come inside. We can't have any outside devices in here, and recording is prohibited. Chongnok completely disregards Taeyeon and just shoves his phone into his backpack and brings the whole thing inside. Back in present day, the police have gotten their hands on the floor plan of the area that the group was stuck in. So there's group A, which is shaped almost like a square, except a little bit of the top section has like a triangle cut out of it. This is where the survivors were stationed for the most part. The rescue team's passageway was made to the right of area A, and the top right corner of area A has a little passage that leads into area B. Area B is a small trapezoidal shaped space that was split into 3 main sections. The smallest section was the water area, which is located to the very left of the trapezoid. The students had found water dripping from the ceiling in this area, so they gathered a tumbler and started collecting it. Forensics say that this is probably the only reason they managed to survive for as long as they did. Then next to the water area, a bit further away, is a larger bathroom area. And on top of the bathroom area, as far away from the survivors as possible, is where the 3 corpses were found. Younghwa taps her fingers on the floor plan. Well, unless the dead ones all decided to die in the exact same spot, it seems like the bodies were moved to the corner after death. Is that correct? Youngchae, the female detective, responds, yes, it's been confirmed at the crime scene that it seems like they were moved. We'll be more certain once the forensics reports come out. While Youngchae is speaking, Chongdo's phone, however, beeps. It's a text from his team leader, and he's found the weak link that Younghwa asked for. The person suffering the most from this incident is Shin Yoo-jung. He's a small guy who seems to have anxiety issues, but when the police go to see him, he refused to see them. And because he refused personally to see them, Chongdo and his team can't see him anymore without a warrant. They don't have the full autopsy report, so they can't even force an interview. So they give up on Yoo-jung and instead direct their attention to Chongnok. He's on the same floor as Yoo-jung, but there was something peculiar about him. When they had rescued everyone, he told the cops to find the one who didn't finish the bread. Chongnok is sitting in a VIP room all bruised and battered with broken arms. His mom is standing guard outside of his room, going off on the police who, according to her, have just stormed in abruptly and are interrogating her son. Youngchae is trying her best to reassure the mother that they're only here for a testimony, but the mom won't let them anywhere near her son until a lawyer is present. While Youngchae is dealing with the mom, Younghwa's gaze is captured by something else. She taps Jongdo's shoulder and points it out to him and then whispers into his ear. He's interested in the conversation. Lure him out. He's not some wild animal, but nonetheless, he interrupts Youngchae. We're not trying to harm your son, ma'am. We heard that he gave an early testimony when he was being rescued. We're just here to confirm that. One of the pieces of evidence we collected from the scene included a food item, and Chongnok said that we have to find the one who didn't finish the bread. So we're here to confirm that statement. Survivor statements are required from everyone anyways, so it may be better to just get it over with as soon as possible. But since you're so against it, if you want to talk to an attorney, please do. But as all this is going on outside, on the other side of the door, Chongnok has his back glued to the door, listening to the conversation. That is what Younghwa saw earlier. She saw his sleeve poking out from the window. As Chongdo indicates that they're going to leave, Chongnok leaps into action. He slides the door open, and without thinking, he starts talking. Is that bastard up yet? He should have died there, that son of a bitch. His mom yells at him to mind his tongue, but Chongdo stops her. The bastard in question is Song Jun-taek, the survivor who's in a coma at the moment. With that cat out of the bag, the police sit down with Chongnok and start collecting his statement. This is an informal statement of a witness. Please acknowledge that everything is recorded from now on. Don't worry about the order and just say what you want to say. We might ask you some questions during the statement. Chongnok, however, is distracted by the floor plan that they've given him. Is this really the place that we were trapped in? Is this the correct version? Yes, it's the exact floor plan. That's so weird. It was this big? Anyway, normally we're not allowed to bring any personal items into the editorial room, but I bought my phone and my backpack in. I bought some pastries and bread in case we'd get hungry late at night, which ultimately saved us. To avoid any kinds of disputes about the different kinds of bread, I just bought 2 kinds. We divided that among people, but I saw it when I was being rescued. He saw a piece of the bread he'd shared just laying there on the ground half eaten, and his immediate thought was, what kind of moron would throw their food away? They were trapped down there for 2 weeks, and in a situation like that, food is a precious commodity. And it's not like he could assume that person was saving it, because it was the middle of the summer, and it's common knowledge that pastry bread lasts like 2 days before going bad in the summer. It was just so strange to Chongnok that someone would starve themselves on purpose. But while Chongnok is going on about how strange the leftover bread is, Yonghwa is psychoanalyzing the man. He's stuck in his own head, thinking that the one who didn't finish the bread is suspicious. It's typical behavior of a victim after a traumatic incident. Meanwhile, Young-chae switches the conversation in a different direction. Chongnok, may I hear anything you remember about the deceased ones? It can be anything at all. Chongnok's eyes go wide, and to me, he looks a little traumatized as he remembers what happened to Yoon. So when they were trapped, Yoon wanted to stick to Chongnok's side. She refused to go anywhere unless she's going with him. The main thing that would cause any of them to move is to get water. Remember that they set up camp in Area A, but water is being sourced from Area B. So whenever Yoon needs water, she wants Chongnok to go with her. And while Yoon is telling him this, he can't help but think, that's not a good idea. There's no guarantee that we'd both be thirsty at the same time, and this is the reason they didn't set a specific water partner. It's too inefficient. But at the same time, Yoon doesn't have anyone that she's close to. At the end of the day, that last thought wins out. He wraps his arms around Yoon and pulls her into a playful back hug. Of course, who else would I go with? Don't abandon me later on to go get water with someone else. He pulls Yoon a little closer. Even if the rescue team is a little late, they'll still come earlier than you think. We even have water now, so we can go on forever. Jeez, Chongnok, you're not even a little bit scared? I'm scared to death, Yoon, but if I talk about it, I'd only feel worse, so... But he never gets to finish that thought, because from the other side of the circle, Chuntaek yells at them to shut up. Your whispers are annoying as hell, so just shut up. Don't you know that the lovey-dovey couples always die first in these kinds of situations? And true to his words, sometime later they found Yoon collapsed face first onto the ground. Screams erupted throughout the area. Every little sound sent people into screaming fits. But when everything quieted down, the unmistakable sound of someone chewing echoed through the space. While everyone was gathered around Yoon's body, Chuntaek was crouching in a corner, eating Yoon's bread. I'm really sorry about Yoon, but she can't eat anymore, so this is the right thing to do. And every time Chongnok remembers Chuntaek's face as he said that, he has the overwhelming urge to kill him, because then at least 2 more people would have survived. He grabs his head as he starts rambling. I was running out of coffee that I bought in my tumbler, so I thought it was over for all of us, but we found dripping water from the ceiling, so I suggested that we go as partners, like 2 people at a time. But then, fuck, my girlfriend went to get water while I was asleep and she came back dead, and Chuntaek was holding the bread she didn't finish. By this point, Chongnok is screaming his head off and banging his broken arm on the bed. The officers and his mom try to calm him down, but he's too far gone. You said this is a murder case. That means he wanted to take it from her, even if he had to kill her to do it, and he was holding it. Yoon was dead and he was holding that bread. Can't you see he killed a person for some food? There's a witness too, the witness. But he's forced to stop screaming and banging by Chongdo, who twists his arm and pins it to his back. Chongnok, please calm down. Take a deep breath. Chuntaek, he went to go get water with Yoon. He went with Yoon. All the dead ones, they all died from going to get some water. We didn't even know how they died. Didn't even think about the possibility of murder. But if it is murder, it's definitely Chuntaek. I told you there's a witness and Yoon died, so it has to be Chuntaek. Meanwhile, at the National Forensic Services autopsy room, the doctors who are looking at Yoon's body are frozen in shock. Yoon's hand is missing 3 fingers and the nail of her ring finger is dangling off, and the worst part is that the missing fingers look like they were bitten off. And then we're sent back to 3 hours after the incident. This is 3 hours after the building collapse, not Yoon's death. Everyone is over the moon when Cheongnok opened his backpack and it was filled with bread. And Cheongnok too can't help but give himself a smooch while listening to all of those praises. But as Yoo-jung looks at the bread, he can't help but say, "That coffee is the only thing we got to drink." Yeah, I thought there would be drinks in the studio, so I didn't really bring any. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to blame you or anything. I was just concerned. Cheongnok brushes it off. He knew that Yoo-jung didn't mean any harm, but nearby, Chuntaek's face is set in a scowl. He's thinking about how moronic everyone is being. How are these morons so optimistic right now? What's so optimistic about this? We don't even know when we'll be rescued, and we have no food. And then an idea hits him. Excuse me, ladies, would any of you be willing to eat less? To be honest, the guys are way bigger than you and we need more calories, especially the ones who are always on a diet. Your stomach probably shrunk anyway. I'm just saying that we should think about fair distribution. If there are any volunteers to give some food to the guys, I would accept it gratefully. All of the women just stare at him in disbelief. Chuntaek continues to look at them expectantly, but when no one offers up their bread like an offering to him, he goes, "Nobody? I see. Well, I thought that this was a fair way. It's just disappointing to see how selfish you are in this time of need." His sad pity party is broken by Chuno. "I see what you're trying to say, and I partially agree with you, but not in this situation. You only say that to the girls now, but later you're gonna take food away from people who are smaller than you." Cheongnok tries to add his 2 cents, but Taeyeon throws her bread at him to shut him up, and then she tries to reassure everyone that they called the authorities already and they promised to come for them. On top of that, Cheongnok's bag has a portable charger so they can keep contacting them for at least a couple more days. Hannah speaks up too. "The thing we should avoid the most, but is most likely to happen, is us wasting our food and energy on something meaningless. I know we could have filmed so much if we didn't get into this argument. We agreed to record it before the phone dies. You know, all 9 of our introductions and blood types. But they first decide to distribute the bread, and it's a little crazy how picky some people are in about the kind of bread in this time. But I guess college kids will be college kids. A couple minutes later, Cheongnok holds out his phone to Songbin. He wants Songbin to be in charge of the phone because he's the class president. On top of that, there's this tiny issue that if Cheongnok makes even a small mistake with the phone, then he'll be chewed out for it. But that's obviously, just a minor reason. So with 37% battery left, they start filming their introductions. 10 hours after the incident, though, a fight breaks out. Cheongnok is turning his backpack inside out because he can't find his portable charger. Cheongnok doesn't understand because he put it in there, so where the hell did it go? Did someone steal it? Hannah, in the meantime, is blowing her casket. "It's just us here. It can't be stolen. Are you sure that it was in your backpack?" Yoon doesn't like the tone that Hannah is using with her boyfriend, so she fights back. "What's gotten into you, Hannah? We all saw it in his backpack." "Oh? Did I ask you? I thought I was asking Cheongnok." But before she can finish that thought, Haesung wraps her in a hug. The poor girl has tears rolling down her face as she tries to calm Hannah down. Everyone's on edge right now. We're only going to get thirsty from this. You guys are not the only ones having a hard time right now. Please. Did you all forget what they said on the phone? They said it was gonna take a while to reach us. And they're sorry about that. We don't even have anything to drink right now. We could all die here. Please, let's not fight in a situation like this. But Yoon doesn't care about Haesung's obvious message. She's pissed that they're all ganging up on Cheongnok for the portable charger that's missing when everyone knows that it went missing after they turned the light off. No one could see, so how do they know that it wasn't stolen? Songbin tries to calm the girls down. I mean, it might be a bit uncomfortable with the lights turned off, but it's not like they can get out of here using that phone. 911 can't track their location with the phone. It's not that accurate. So why are argue about the phone when everyone is about to pass out from heat, hunger, and thirst. As usual, Juntaek doesn't agree. The authorities had told them that they'd get here soon. Now they're changing their minds and saying a day. To him, Songbin sounds like a moron for thinking that they don't need the phone. After yelling at Songbin, he turns to Chongnok. You better fucking fix this. You made a big deal about the portable charger thing, or else I'll fuck you up. You know, I love how in all of these situations, there always has to be a character like Juntaek in these scenarios. I don't want to be too tough on him because I don't know what kind of person I would become in this sort of situation. I would pray to God that I would not be like this, but I hope that we'll never find out about that. Anyway, while Chongnok and Juntaek are going at each other's throats, Yoon decides to be a woman of action. Even though she was yelling her head off like 2 seconds ago, she turns on the flashlight to the phone and starts walking closer to this little passageway, the passageway that connects Area A to Area B. Chongnok tries to tell her that he never went over there with his charger, but he trails off when he realizes that his girlfriend isn't listening. Haesung and Hannah start teasing Chongnok about dating even in this situation, but Yoon's scream interrupts them. Guys, hurry up and come here. I found water. There's dripping water from the ceiling. Back at the police station, Chongdo is listening to the recording of Chongnok's breakdown in the hospital when Youngchae checks into work. Chongdo turns to her. Did you see Chongnok's injuries yesterday? Well, it was all over him. How could I miss it? Why? You think there was a fight? I think so, and not just a fight, an emotionally charged, physically intense one. But isn't Chongnok pretty tall? He seems pretty strong too, so not a lot of them could have attempted to strangle him to death. Chongdo's brain starts turning, and he thinks about Chongnok yelling out about how Yoon went to get water while he was asleep and died. He was so sure that their alibis would match up because they were all trapped in a closed room. But that's not the case anymore. He remembers Younghwa telling him to collect all the alibis as soon as possible and can't help but smile a little. Turns out he was wrong about the committee member working against them. So with the exception of Chuntaek and Yujong, Chongdo decides that they need to collect the water partners of every single person they can. Youngchae is confused though. Why do they need the partners? Well, they don't know who the victims were when they were killed. Chongnok said Yoon dies when she went to go get water while he was sleeping. And for water, they only moved in partners. Water is crucial for survival, so this was probably constantly on their minds. They would have sat there all consciously counting down their turn to drink water. Maybe the partner rule was to watch one another, to keep an eye on each other. So excluding the 5 who cannot testify or are dead, let's get the alibis from the other 4. No matter how many suspects we have, and whatever happened in there, we at least have half the survivors. We'll catch on to something during those testimonies. I don't know what went wrong, but before Chongdo can finish his sentence, his team lead bursts into the room. The forensics reports have come out, and it's not just a homicide. Meanwhile, the police chief is giving a press briefing. The press is clicking away on their laptops and their cameras as he speaks. There were signs of homicide on the corpses, but there is not enough evidence as the investigation has just started. And considering the professional opinions of various institutions, we have decided that we need additional reports from forensics and more detailed crime scene investigations. And therefore, we have decided to proceed this case as a private investigation. I will be taking questions now. And of course, the first question on everyone's mind is, what unexpected factors? The chief maintains that it was a comment from one of their cooperating agencies. I don't really know what that means, but they are investigating it. Kim Jong-min, a reporter from JTBD, raises his hand. It's only been a week since the police reported that there is a possibility of homicide, so please share the cause of death for the victims that have passed away. But the chief is tight-lipped because this is a private investigation, and the endless questions start being shouted out. Please tell us why this is a homicide. What is the reason for closing the investigation? Please reveal the detailed forensics results. Back with Team 2, they have set up a camera and are now getting the first round of statements from the survivors. First is Hongbin. I'm not really sure about the drama or the beef. It was a weird group. None of us would have hung out with each other normally. Not all 9 of us, at least. Some of them weren't even from our film club. Chuno and Yujong are not from the club. Some of them seemed a little uncomfortable in detail. I don't really remember. I think Chongnok would know better. I wasn't really close to any of them. I am the class president, but it's not really by popular vote. Everyone thought it was a hassle, so I just took it. But is there a possibility that we'd get arrested? My mom's really sick. She's been struggling for a long time, and my parents have divorced for a while, so there's really nobody else who can take care of her. She needs me. The first one to be found dead was Yoon, and Chongnok found her. Yeah, it seemed like they were dating, but I don't really know much about it. By the way, Detective, we couldn't see anything in there. What if Yoon just fell and hit somewhere critical? Or passed out from starving? Because that's what we were thinking. Yeah, I just can't believe this whole thing. I don't think any of us could do anything like that. Next is Hannah. I heard it. Chuntek was asking Yoon to go get water with him. Didn't you hear it from Chongnok as well, Detective? Huh? About your visit? Of course I heard it from Chongnok. I heard it was kind of a mess when you visited him. Wouldn't it be weirder not to know about it when we're in the same hospital? I'm just trying to say that Chongnok did not lie to you. I'm the witness that heard Chuntek asking Yoon to go with him. I told Chongnok that Chuntek asked Yoon to go with him. It was pitch black in there. We couldn't see our own fingers no matter how much we tried. Felt like we could just die from the darkness, so I clearly heard it. Juntek, what? Honestly, I'm not suffering from any PTSD. Obviously, I was scared in there, but I'm fine now. We were starving for 2 weeks in that small ass room. Isn't it kind of expected for some of us to die? I was more surprised when the police suspected that it was a homicide. I'm just glad that I'm not one of the dead ones. By the way, I heard that you can refuse the testimony thing. Am I right? Yeah, I just don't feel like talking today. And she literally gets up and leaves. Back to Songbin's statement. What was inside Chongnok's backpack? Some breads, 9 types of bread and pastries, and a tumbler of coffee, portable battery, a note, and a pen, maybe? Yeah, and a box cutter knife. Oh, the box cutter knife is missing? I have no clue. And the statement pauses. Younghwa, Chongdo, and Youngchae are holed up in a room. Younghwa is sitting in front of the monitor, while Chongdo and Youngchae hover on either side of her. Younghwa taps her pen against the desk. What would one pay the most attention to if they're lying? Chongdo and Youngchae freeze for a little bit before slowly letting out a looking natural? Yeah, I think so too. Whether they're good or bad at lying, everyone tries to act natural when they want to hide something. It's in our nature. Being natural means acting normal, right? So when they're lying, they have this pressure to seem normal, but that actually freezes you up. That's why we can tell that something's off when people lie. It must be especially hard to act normal under these types of circumstances of witness testimonies, and this one is very interesting. She points her pen at the screen with Songbin on it. This guy, when he's talking about objective fact, like the environment he was in or the things he experienced, his face tilts to the right. However, she goes back in the video and hits play again. Look, he flinches. His pupils flinch and he looks to the right. Youngchae lets out a wow and leans closer. Does this mean he's lying? And honestly, in my small, humble opinion, I feel like that little look to the right won't and shouldn't hold up like anywhere to prove anything, and thankfully Younghwa feels the same exact way. It's peculiar for sure, but it's not enough. The thing that catches her attention even more than his pupils is the fact that Songbin's words don't match. At the beginning of the statement, he clearly told them he wasn't really close with any of them. The whole time he pushes this narrative that he barely knows these people. But then he goes, none of us would ever do that? How does he know that if he doesn't know any of them well to begin with? It's a small contradiction, but who knows? It may lead to more insights. Chongdo thanks her and Youngchae starts telling her how glad she is that they showed Younghwa the footage. Younghwa starts packing up her stuff. Well, I'm sure you see it by now, but I'm really good at these kinds of quick analysis, so let me know if you ever need my help again. Even if that means we have to call you all the time. Of course, at the end of the day, you're the ones interrogating and questioning. You're doing the hard work, so I'd love to help. Youngchae has stars in her eyes as she leads Younghwa out, and then we get sent back to the time where Jongdo's team chief bursts into the room with their autopsy reports. The conclusion that forensics came to is that all three corpses have different causes of death, but all three have evidence of physical mutilation and amputation after death. So we've seen Sungbin's and Hannah's witness testimonies. Next, we get Chongnok's official statement. He starts by awkwardly apologizing about his behavior the other day. It was shortly after I got out of there and I had been starving for weeks. I was too frustrated and angry to talk, but still, it was ridiculous that you twisted my arm. My mom was about to sue you, but I didn't want any disadvantages on the investigation. Huh? Drama or beef among the victims? I did date Yoon. She was a bit fussy at times, but we didn't really have any issues. Well, if we're gonna talk about drama, wouldn't Chuntaek be the center of it all? Chuntaek used to pester Haesung and she was really annoyed about it. You could ask other people about it too. And I don't know when, but there was a night where Haesung woke up petrified because apparently someone touched her. There was a whole big deal about it. All the upperclassmen in our major, they're kind of loud and feisty. Since the older ones were all yelling at each other, the rest of us just kind of stayed quiet. That was right before both my phone and portable battery died, so we couldn't see anything. But we made sure that nobody was touching one another. And back at the station, Chongdo is shocked to see conclusion B. The report points out that on the severed point of mutilation on the victims' bodies, teeth marks suspected to be humans were identified. We go back to the witness testimonies, but this time Taeyeon is on screen. The food? Chunguk gave out some bread and pastries he had. 4 of them were cinnamon and 5 of them were corn flavored. I don't know who took what flavor though. Some people exchange their flavors depending on their preferences. The atmosphere wasn't bad. At that point, we had no clue we'd be in there for 14 days. I picked the cinnamon one because I liked it, and Chuno picked the corn one. Yeah, I do remember Chuno's flavor. Meanwhile, Yonghwa is in bed looking at the text Youngchae sent her. It's a copy of the autopsy reports, and Yonghwa stares wide-eyed at conclusion C. Some of the intestinal organs could not be identified from the victims' bodies. It is presumed to have been lost in the process of damage or mutilation, and it is difficult to conclude that this was done by a single person. Back to Taeyeon's statement, we could only think that these were accidental. We couldn't hear anything, if this is even a homicide. Even if the girls were killed by somebody, what about Juno? He's like 6 feet tall. Who would be able to take him on? Even if they did, it doesn't make sense that he didn't even get the chance to scream. We can't believe this either. Yeah, we did see something weird about Yoon's neck, but we just thought that that happened because she fell weird, and after Yoon, we didn't really get to see anything. We had no lights, flash, or phone to use. Who killed whom? I don't understand. Are you done? I told you everything. The first witnesses, context, beef, drama, when and where the bodies were found, possessions. I've told you about everything. Can we please stop now? Thank you for cooperating with the investigation. Lastly, we're collecting the water partner alibis. Please write down the amount of times you went for water and the partner that you went with during your isolation period of 14 days. If you remember anyone else's other than yours, please write that down as well. While you're writing this report for the water partner alibis, we prohibit any contact with the other survivors. Police will be placed in each hospital room and we will manage all devices that could be used for communication. This alibi is not forced, but we can request a warrant if you deny it. Taegun at the end of each testimony handed each witness a piece of paper and made this little speech. Back at the station, Chongdo and Yongche are talking about how this is the golden time. This is the moment where the survivors remember the most, so they need to hurry up, especially since they have to question/check each victim at least 3 more times, but Yongche is curious if their methods will work. I know the water thing was in partners, but would they really remember all of their alibis? Well, forensics told me this. It would have taken about 3 hours of dripping water from the ceiling to fill up a 750 milliliter water bottle, which means the survivors only got about 6 liters of water in 24 hours. And after desperately enduring for hours for their turn in that devastating heat and hunger, wouldn't they want to drink at least half of that water bottle? Realistically, each team of partners would have finished all of the water, so the next team had to wait 2 to 3 hours after the previous one. Ultimately, the amount of times one could have gone for water is 1.7 times a day at most, assuming that each person's water trip would have been 25 times at most in total. But there have been some unexpected variables. They might have wasted some water due to low visibility, and some of them died along the way. However, I do think that it's worth it to put all of these alibis together. Don't you think so? Yongche isn't so sure about this, whether it's worth it or even if they can finish it on time, but Chongdo promises that it'll only take them a week. And these are my own thoughts, but Chongdo looks like he's kind of enjoying himself a little bit. He has a smile on his face as he erases the whiteboard that he was using. It's almost like the complexity of this case is exciting to him. They sit down to go through the documents when Yongche speaks up again. By the way, I don't know. I think I made a mistake by taking this case. It's giving me a really weird feeling. We didn't really have a choice though. Is it because of the teeth marks? Well, I guess it just throws me off to hear that there are human teeth marks on the bodies. What did they do in those 2 weeks? I mean, unless the witnesses are hiding something from us, and that's exactly what Chongdo wants to find out. They start pinning up the victim profiles as we hear what the news is reporting on. As the Contra Studio incident has turned into a closed investigation, some have criticized it for being a passive method of investigation. The bereaved family, however, state that they respect the decision of the police and the prosecutors. Next up, in the neighborhood of Yeongnam, there has been a systematic activity of murder targeting older people. As Chongdo is putting up Chuno's photo, his brain is running at least 100 miles per hour. The ultimate cause of death should not be revealed yet. It would only give away what we have to the suspects. All 3 victims died in there, so the suspect has to be one of the 6 that survived. And then we're shown the last and final conclusion from the autopsy. All 6 of the survivor DNAs were detected on all 3 victims' bodies. And that is the end of chapter 5. With this, we now have a clearer picture of who made it and who didn't. So the ones who are dead, like gone for sure, are Yoon, Chuno, and Haesung. Juntaek and Yujong are out of commission because the former is in a coma and the latter is going through, I'd say, some severe trauma responses, and the 4 who are alive and better off are Hannah, Taeyeon, Sungbin, and Chongnok. That is all for today. I hope you guys are enjoying this manhwa so far, and I will see you next time. Bye!